Hello everybody, welcome back to day 5 of Artgust. It looks better written out than it sounds. If you don't know what's going on, I am doing a different art project every day of August, and I have a list of prompts that you guys can follow along with. Even if you're not following along, feel free to stick around because we're just going to work on a fun little art project today. Today's prompt is Flora, so plants. I don't know why my first thought was like plant jewelry. I think it's just because I've been into making shrinky dinks lately. I started making them for my shaker charms, like things to put inside of them or things to attach to the outside, and it's been a lot of fun. So I want to try making some Sakura blossom like earrings today. That's the goal. But first, I need to have a shape for the Sakura blossoms. I think I'm gonna want some flowers and some leaves. Kind of like a 5-pointed thing, right? I couldn't find my little test piece that I have. I do have like a little test piece that I did where I measured out, you know, an inch on this, and then cooked it and shrunk it down. And then I knew how much an inch translated to, because shrinky dinks, you heat this up and it shrinks. I can't find it, but I do know that like an inch translates to about that. So if I want to make little tiny blossoms, I probably want to make them about an inch long or so. So probably about that translates to about, it's almost like half sized almost, I think. So I'm gonna make a couple of the blossom designs, and then I also want to make a couple leaf, I think, designs. I don't need a ton of them. I just want enough that when I put them all together, it doesn't look like the same thing, the exact same thing over and over again. I want there to be a little bit of variation, because these will end up with, you know, having a certain amount of character to them since I'm hand drawing them. And these are just going to be my references. I'm literally going to just put this over and trace it. Part of the goal of the art prompts for this month is just as an excuse to do a bunch of different things that sound like fun. I'm also, I think it's really fun when everyone has the same prompt but makes something different. I did a video a while back where I did that with like dice, with some fellow dice makers. And that was just really fun. I think it's really cool to see how people take the same idea and then go completely different directions with it. Or even if they're like doing basically the same sort of thing. Like even if someone else was making Sakura blossom earrings, I bet they would do it completely differently. And that's just fun to me. Even if people did it the exact same way that I'm doing it, they would end up different because they would draw their Sakura blossoms probably slightly different. They might attach them completely differently than how I plan to attach them. Oh, so we've got like 3 different sizes. I feel like that kind of works, actually. I do want to get some leaves in there too. I think I'm gonna need a spot to like hole punch it, but let's see, what's the shape on the leaves? They're kind of like this. And then they're kind of like this. I went and looked up some reference images right before this. That's roughly the shape. That might be the kind of the size that I want too. I feel like that's about the same as the bigger one, which I think will work out. I'll do like one more, I think, maybe one that's like a little bit smaller. I actually have a friend that was doing a lot of shrinky dink stuff at one point. Far better than I'm sure that I'll be able to do. But I wonder if she's still doing some of that. Okay, I think we've got kind of our base like shapes here. I'm gonna trace them in ink, just make them a little bit more permanent. These don't need to be perfect because one, actual plants are not perfect. They've got lots of little imperfections. And also these are just reference pieces so that I can actually put something else over the top and draw it. There we go, we've got those. I think my plan is I'm going to use some colored markers to trace. Quite often I would do things like this in black, but I think I want like a softer look. I'm gonna try tracing it with the pink marker, and then I'm gonna fill it in on the other side with maybe like colored pencil or pastel to give it a little bit more shape. But I want to get the base shapes all figured out. So let's get some things traced. My plan is to punch a hole in the very middle, so I don't need to leave much space around it. I do need maybe some tape. I find tape is helpful to tape down the shrinky dink material so that it doesn't slide around while I'm trying to trace it. All right, let's line this up and get that done. I'm just gonna tape that down there. All right, we'll see if this marker works. These are some older markers. Oh, good. I feel like maybe actually I want like a dark red. I'm gonna do the whole thing in the pink, and then I'm gonna go over it with the dark red. I think I need a little bit more. I said I was going for a softer look because I didn't want to do like black, because that'd be quite harsh, but I think it needs a little bit more contrast. It needs a bit of an outline. Let's try this kind of, is this mauve? Is that what mauve is? Ooh, that's like a purple, very purple color. I don't like that. Let's go red, red. Oh yeah, this one's better. Let's go the red, red. There's our first one. Let's add in a smaller one. All right, I'm gonna get a bunch of these drawn up. I'm just going through and trying to fit them in where I can. And I'll bring you guys back in once I've got a bunch of them drawn up so we can cut them out and get them colored on the backs. All right, I'm back. I've got, hopefully this is enough. Hopefully it's enough flowers and leaves. I do think I'm gonna take the light pinks that I kind of tossed to the side before and maybe do a little bit of coloring around the edges here to maybe soften them a little bit, just so that they're not quite as dark red, but it's blended a little bit more. Once I get all of the sides kind of softened a little bit, I'm gonna flip them over, and on the rough side here, because I've been working on the smooth side of this, there's like a smooth side and then there's like a rough side. The rough side, I'm gonna start adding some of these pink colors. I might add actually a little bit of this, the actual pink in the middle here. I think that's gonna be darker. And I want it to be a little bit darker maybe in the middle than it is on the outsides. I grabbed a bunch of my kind of normal-ish colored pencils. I also grabbed my nice colored pencils. I have this set of Prismacolors and they're so nice. They're so nice. Like the pigment in them just glides across things. They're so pigmented. But I'm using the white here to kind of smooth out some of the colors, and also you can see it makes it more opaque, which is what I want. Add some like red. Slightly different sort of tone there, but I think that'll be okay. Adding some different tones and things might add a little bit more variation and interest. And like I was saying before, plants aren't perfect, so adding some variation is good. It makes them feel more alive and real. Trying to kind of follow the shape here. I actually probably need like a darker background. We'll use my planner. I want to be able to see if I've gotten the whole thing. It's hard to tell where I've missed with the white on the light background. So there's one of them. And cutting them out is always a little bit of a process. So we'll come back to that after I've got the colors filled in on all of these. It's kind of funny. I feel like the white colored pencils are usually the ones where it's just like, what is the point of this? But I use this white colored pencil so much because it's so good at blending all the other colors. Even obviously the colors that aren't from the same set. Just does a good job of kind of tying everything together. Alright, there's all the flowers. For the leaves, I did do one already just to test it out. I'm gonna do the same sort of thing. I'm gonna color on the back with some colored pencils, and then I also grabbed like a darker marker because I realized that with the lighter outline it just didn't really pop much. So I'm gonna fill in a little bit with the darker marker as we go, but I think I want to start with just some of the colored pencil tones, and I'm gonna fill these in. I did grab my nice green colored pencils. These are more of the Prismacolor ones. Let me see if I can show you the difference in quality between the cheap colored pencil and the Prismacolor one. I'm just gonna color one side of this with the cheap one. This is pretty light. This was actually not too bad. This pencil is not. So I'm gonna try and push down about the same amount with that and with this. See how much more color there is with the Prismacolor one? And it's so much smoother. You can see that was about the same amount of pressure for both of those. I didn't realize how nice having nice colored pencils was until I had some nice colored pencils. But I'm gonna fill these in. I'm trying to even these out a bit. I don't want them completely even because I want to get some different colors in here. I'm gonna add some depth, hopefully, on the back with the marker. I was gonna do a dark green, but actually the darkest green that I have was dead. So we're doing dark blue, and I think it actually kind of works out better anyways. And I'm just gonna try and fill in a few little spots. I don't want it to be like overwhelmingly the dark blue, but I will fill in kind of the edges a bit. There's a thing in art called, it's like implied lines. I can't remember if that's actually what it's called, but it's that sort of thing. So basically where your brain will fill things in, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. It's kind of why I'm adding like some dots almost, is because your brain will fill in that it's a continuous thing. I do think it might be easier to punch the holes, especially on the leaves, because they're going to be on the outside of the leaf as opposed to on like the middle. So I want to make sure that I actually cut out around the holes. I'm just going to punch holes close to the end of the leaf. And some of these ones on the edge I can punch. I think my plan is to use a bead in the middle of all of the flowers. That's what I'm going to try and do. I haven't actually tried this before, but I think that should work. I will say, cutting out the Shrinky Dink stuff is a little bit, not tricky, but you do kind of have to think ahead on some of this stuff because it doesn't do well with sharp angles. You need to come in from two different sides to actually cut it out. Otherwise, your stuff will just like crack and break. Especially since I have so much stuff on here, I've made it more difficult for myself because I have to try and take into account multiple pieces and not cutting into any of them. I think it'll be okay though. I will cut out the rough shapes of things first on some of them. You know, there's the leaf, and then I'll do a little bit of work on the edge here just to trim things down a little bit. There we go, we've got a leaf. The day I met you. When I'm not watching a YouTube video while working, I am like constantly humming to myself. That's been, or singing to myself even, and that is nothing new. I actually do it less now, I think, than I did as a kid. I would get called out a lot as a kid for just singing to myself without thinking while I was working on things. I don't know if that's why I can sing now. To be fair, I feel like I have fond memories of rocking with my mom in the rocking chair at night and just singing songs together before bed. It wasn't an every night thing, but it was always kind of like a nice special thing when it happened. I've always been singing various songs and things with my mom. We'd like sing in the car. Not even necessarily with the radio. I feel like listening to the radio I started doing, or listening to music in the car, started to become a thing for me when I started to get, maybe in like high school and stuff, but before then we'd just sing songs together. My mom was also very good at providing us with stuff to mess around with, like, you know, old paper towel tubes and random paint and things like that. Here's one of these. And then my dad's whole side of the family was always very artsy as well. I've talked before in a video about the oil paints that I inherited from my grandfather, and that was my dad's dad. He was an excellent oil painter. And then I've gotten quite a few art supplies from my grandmother as well, on my dad's side. Like I got all my polymer clay from her. She used to do a lot of polymer clay stuff. She's gotten super into laser etching glass at the moment. That's been her new thing. She's very much the person that likes learning how something works and then gets bored with it and moves on to the next craft thing. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about the learning process of things being fun. I think that's part of the reason that I enjoy doing resin, is because there's always something new to try. But I like doing lots of different things, and I also just like trying things. I think it's fun. And I guess it runs in the family. I wanted that little bit of like slightly darker tone around the circle, because I'm hoping that I can kind of bend these while they're cooling down after we cook them to shrink them, to give them a little bit more of a shape, and that dark tone will give it even more depth. All right. We've got our flowers, we've got our leaves, now we just need to shrink them. I went ahead and brought my little toaster oven upstairs. I also grabbed a couple of things that I think might be useful in shaping these, so let's give it a shot. So we're gonna put some things of similar sizes in here. Let's do some of the flowers. I need to actually preheat this thing, so I want it at 325. So this is a trick that I saw online somewhere, probably in a YouTube video, I don't remember when, but for shaping some shrinky dinks, I've grabbed a sponge. That's just a clean sponge from the kitchen, and we're gonna use it to kind of form the flowers into the shape that I want, and also the leaves a little bit too. I've also grabbed my fancy colored pencil, which I'm going to use as a tool to help with that. And I also grabbed a piece of copper wire that I've had sitting around. It's literally been sitting on my desk for probably years. But we're going to use those to help us as well. I am realizing as these things shrink that they might be a little bit too big for earrings. Maybe these would work better for like a bracelet or a necklace. That's okay, we can always change plans if we need to. But I'll show you once we get them shaped properly. So here's what I'm gonna do to shape them. Take that and squish down. Ta-da! Get more of a flower shape. And as they cool, it gets harder to do this. Ooh, so I want to do these fairly quick. You see what I mean? These might be a little bit big for earrings. That's okay. I feel like bracelet might be the way to go. If I have a good, actually, I think I have a good chain for that too. I think these medium-sized ones are maybe a little bit of a better size if I wanted to do earrings. But even then, they might be a little bit large. Ow, hot. I'm just grabbing hot plastic with my fingers. But you can see Ooh, these are still quite warm. If all else fails, I can just turn these into various charms and things to use on other projects. It's not any skin off my teeth if this doesn't turn into exactly the project that I was expecting. Because, like, the whole point of all of these projects is just kind of to do a bunch of different things and have fun. I want to wait until they're, like, flat again. And that's a good indicator that they're ready to be pulled out. Hot. Very hot. Yep, perfect. Bent it like that. That's what I wanted. Bent it like that. That's what I wanted. And that's the go. Excellent. Alright, we've got some flowers. So they did end up quite a bit darker, at least on the inside part, than I was hoping. I should have known that they would have ended up a little bit darker just because all of that pigment's getting squished together, so they end up looking darker than they do when I have, you know, I'm just coloring on them. I did get the shapes how I wanted. They are a little bit larger than I was expecting, especially these large ones. So I don't know if I really want to turn them into earrings, or maybe they'd be cute like charm bracelets. Should I try doing like a few bracelets maybe with like, you can only do like what, 3 bracelets or so with like a few flowers in each one and a couple leaves. Would that be cute? I might actually be able to do 4. Maybe I will try and make like 4 charm bracelets or so, and maybe I'll put them in my online shop. I don't know, if you think these are cute when we're done, I'll put a link to them in the description if you want to grab one. All right, I've grouped them up into some groups. The leaves don't need anything. They've already got loops to them. But if I'm going to attach the flowers, I need a way to like attach a jump ring to them. So here was my thought. I'm thinking that I'm gonna take a lovely pearl bead. Oop. Let's just grab one, so that they're not rolling all over the place. I'm hoping that one of these little eye pins will fit through the hole on here. Oh, perfect. Go like this, and then I can turn it into like a little loop on the back. There we go, like that. Perfect, and then it won't fit through either direction. I don't know how I feel about these little eye pins though, because kind of messy on this side. This one's not very round. It ends up looking a little bit messy. Are all of these ones funky? I want one that's actually round on the bottom. Here we go, this one's a little better. You kind of see what I mean. The little silver part's not like perfectly round, so it looks a little bit funky. But I do have it so that we've got a little loop on the back. Got that little pearl in the middle. I wish that the silver bits were a little bit cleaner, but it's what I've got. So I've gotten all of my flowers and things done. Do I do like a bracelet and kind of try to like spread them out maybe? Spread out like unevenly along the bracelet. That might be kind of cute. Let's try one and see how it feels. I'm gonna cut off a piece of chain. And I want it maybe, I don't know, I don't have the biggest wrists to be fair, but let's make one that fits me first just so I can see how it'll look. I don't really like wearing bracelets. Bracelets and rings are just like sensory nightmare for me for some reason. I don't like having things on my wrists or my hands. All right, so I think I'm just gonna attach them pretty much directly. Here, let's add the lobster claw. I think this is a big enough chain that I'll be able to attach the lobster claw to like the other end. I don't need to add a jump ring over there. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. I'm gonna kind of line these up, I think, roughly where I want them, just to get an idea of how I'm gonna do this. Yeah, maybe kind of like that. That seems like it might be cute. For the leaves, I'm just gonna use some little tiny jump rings and attach them that way. I think I'm just gonna attach these directly. Got that on there. And I think they will probably kind of dangle down, but that's okay. Leaf time. Alright, I'm going to attach this one, not like kind of close, not exactly the same spot, but close to. That one's actually maybe a little bit too close. I think I want to move that one back a little bit. It's kind of close to the other ones. It feels a little bit jumbled there, and I want things to be spread out enough that I can kind of, you know, no matter which way the bracelet's facing, you've got a little bit of flower or leaf or something going on. I don't want all of them just at the bottom. But I feel like it's working. Alright, let's see how it looks on. There we go. I feel like that's kind of cute. I do think that maybe it could use a little bit more. Maybe I only make 2 bracelets instead of, I don't know, maybe I only make 2 bracelets instead of 4. Or I could do 3 actually. What if I did 3? Maybe, yeah, I think 3 bracelets seems reasonable. Let's split up one of these groups that I have here of stuff, and we'll add some more. Not a ton more stuff, but I think this will be enough to give it a little bit more of a full look. I've got a kitty cat here to help. Hi, yes, you're very good at helping, I know. Hello, are you here to be in the way of the camera? I know you're good at being in the way of the camera. Hello, Luna. Hi. Ah, I see. She's here to make noise. To be fair, I do have my camera set up over one of her, well, 2 of her boxes. I've got kind of like box lids, because she just likes them a lot. She likes to sleep in them. Where was I gonna do this? How was I gonna do this? How did I have these set up? I don't remember. All right, and let's see if this feels a little bit better. There we go. I think that's kind of cute. What do you think? Yeah. Well, here, let me go see what my brother thinks. You might be able to hear me. I'm not bringing the camera, but I'm gonna go ask him. It jingle jangles too, which is kind of fun. Hello. What do you think?
That's pretty cool.
Does it have enough flowers and stuff, you think?
I think so, yes.
Alright, cool. I'm gonna make 3 of them then. Hi, kitten. Yes, hello. And there's my project for day 5, Flora. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I like how jingle jangly it is. Oh, hello, kitten. There's a kitten here. I will put these in my shop, just in case someone wants one. There'll be 3 of them available. And I will be back tomorrow with another video. If you are interested in also following along and doing some art prompts this month of August in whatever medium you want to do, here is the list of prompts. You are welcome to tag me on social media or just do hashtag Artgust. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. Bye-bye. It's so jingle jangly. Yay.